Hello again, and welcome back to another episode of The Spirits of Independence. I'm Thomas Watson, and this is my good friend and travel companion for the past 50 years, Bob Moldenhauer. When our last show ended, Bob and I had fallen asleep in our tent just outside of Upper Black Eddy, Pennsylvania, which is located roughly 20 miles east of Allentown. Although we were excited to visit the graves of four more signers the following day, the two of us were not looking forward to fighting the traffic and the people in New York City. But since one of the signers was buried in the Bronx and another one was buried in the Trinity Churchyard and in the shadow of the World Trade Center, there was no way to avoid the Big Apple. As it turned out, day 12 of our adventure became one of the most memorable of the trip, and we think you'll really like this show. So now sit back and enjoy the ride. Bob and I were up at our usual time at 6 a.m. on that Thursday morning, and once again, the temperature was on the cooler side, which forced the two of us to sport sweatshirts and sweatpants. Within the first hour, we had our tent disassembled, our gear all packed into the Omni, and we were on the road by 7 o'clock. It took us nearly a half hour to drive to Easton, Pennsylvania, which was about 20 miles from our campground, and that was mainly because there wasn't a direct route to the first stop of the day. But once in town, we found a Wawa's where Bob bought his morning coffee. And believe it or not, there was a police officer in the parking lot eating a donut. Luck was on our side again as the cop gave us precise directions to Easton Cemetery. However, he did not offer us one of his donuts. The officer's directions were perfect. After driving about a half mile from Wawa's, Bob navigated the Omni through the castle-like entrance to Easton Cemetery.
God, the gate's open too. Little cemetery. Oh, that's a monument place.
Oh, this is the Easton Cemetery? Yes. Yes, it is. Arriving at Easton Cemetery. And now we're going to look for George Taylor's gravesite.
What's this right here, I wonder? There it is, the grave of George Taylor in Easton Cemetery. Because thanks to good directions by a police officer at Wawa's, they led us to the cemetery, and then luckily we stumbled across it. See a little chapel right behind it.
George Taylor was an ironmaster and a Pennsylvania delegate to the Continental Congress from July 20th, 1776 to February 17th, 1777. Taylor arrived in Congress too late to vote for independence, but he did sign the Declaration on August 2nd, 1776. By early spring of 1777, Taylor's Durham furnace was turning out grape shot, cannonballs, bar shot, and cannons for the Continental Army. After the state confiscated his place, Taylor moved to Greenwich Township, New Jersey, where he leased the Greenwich Forge, which he operated until his death. George Taylor died at the age of 65 on February 23, 1781, at the Parsons Taylor House in Easton, Pennsylvania. Taylor was originally buried in the St. John's Lutheran Church Cemetery, which was across from his leased residence in Easton. When the church property was sold in 1870 for construction of a school, Taylor was reinterred at Easton Cemetery. Bob and I struggled somewhat with our photos of the signer's tombstone due to the sun angle and the bright morning sky. Our visit at the final resting place of George Taylor marked the 39th signer's grave of the trip, with only 17 left to find. Finished at the gravesite, Bob and I left the 58.5-acre cemetery and began our search for George Taylor's house. We knew it was in Easton, but we weren't exactly sure where in Easton. Once again, we had to stop and ask for directions. This time, we got them from a cranky old fart, at least in the words of my wise old friend Mongo. It didn't take long to find the oldest and most historic house in Easton, known as the Parsons Taylor House, and it was located at the corner of 4th and Ferry Streets.
Yeah, we're cruising down 7th Street. Gonna look for the home of George Taylor.
There's a gentleman that just gave us directions. I'll call him a gentleman. A cranky old fart, I guess, is more appropriate.
Whoa. Loose manhole cover. Okay. This must be the main drag up here, huh?
Did he say left at the light?
Yeah, Northampton. Yeah, this is it.
There's some salty looking dudes.
Okay, now go down to 7th Street, on the 4th, take a right. George Taylor House right there. Not there, but down. This is the home of George Taylor. Sign of the Declaration of Independence on the corner of 7th and Ferry Street. This is the Ferry Street side of George Taylor's house. And there is probably an authentic glass of Pepsi that George Taylor once drank out of. See up the little hill there.
Built by William Parsons in 1757, this 2.5-story house was leased by George Taylor from April of 1780 until his death on February 23rd, 1781, which occurred within the stone walls of this historic home. When Bob and I were finished in Easton, we crossed the Delaware River once again and were back in New Jersey. Shortly after our arrival in the Garden State, we saw a sign that said New York City was 68 miles away. Although the two of us were excited, we were apprehensive at the same time, and I knew Bob was not looking forward to navigating through the streets of the Big Apple. It took us about an hour to make the trek across New Jersey to the city of Rahway, which was located only 5 miles west of Staten Island. Bob had visited the Rahway Cemetery in the past and knew exactly where it was located, and he gave directions as I drove the Omni. By 10:30 a.m., I had the car parked alongside the burial ground, and within minutes the two of us were walking among the hundreds of ancient-looking tombstones as we headed for the final resting place of signer Abraham Clark.
Welcome to Rahway.
gravesite of Abraham Clark. 10:30 a.m. This is, what day is this?
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Was it June 6th?
I think it's June 6th?
I don't know.
Yes, June 6th. 3,400 miles into the trip. See a big yellow building straight ahead.
Yeah, we should be able to park right in our lot.
Should I go left here?
Oh, that lot was open the last time I was here.
Well, I see the cemetery. Okay, I'll turn left here.
I think we'd probably just pull in, even though it's locked there, we'd probably pull into it. There's the Girl Scout house. We always call it the Girl Scout house.
Yeah, it's otherwise known as the Merchants and Drovers Tavern. But us locals always call it the Girl Scout house.
Oh, pardon me for the fast spin there. Let's get the cross streets on here. St. George and Westfield.
We can drive right into the cemetery.
Last time, Fred and I just pulled into the lot behind this building here, and there's the gas prices. Abraham Clark is pretty close to the front. And the gate looks like it's locked.
Park right here.
And don't say no parking.
Down there. And we're gonna try to head into the cemetery here. And the gates are open, so we won't have to climb the fence as usual.
Doo-doo on Abraham's.
Yeah. And we got a good sun angle for this grave once again. And you can see where the car is parked, just outside the cemetery.
Abraham Clark was a farmer, surveyor, lawyer, and a New Jersey delegate to the Continental Congress from June 21st, 1776 to 1784. On the day of the vote for independence, Clark wrote a letter stating, and I quote, "It has gone so far that we must now be a free, independent state or a conquered country. We can die here but once." Two of Clark's sons were officers in the Continental Army, and both were captured and tortured. Abraham Clark died on September 15, 1794, at the age of 68 in Rahway, New Jersey. Clark was stricken with sunstroke at his birthplace in nearby Roselle, New Jersey, where he lived most of his life. He was taken to Rahway, where he passed away a few hours later. He and his wife, Sarah, had 10 children. Although the grass had been cut by the time we arrived at the cemetery, the weeds were fairly long at the base of Clark's tombstone. Bob and I pulled the weeds out before we began taking our photos. Our visit to the final resting place of Abraham Clark marked the 40th signer's grave of the trip, with only 16 left to find. Cloud cover began to roll in as we made the 4-mile journey north to Roselle, New Jersey, to find the home of Abraham Clark. Once again, Bob knew exactly where the house was located, and we had no trouble finding it. The original Clark house was built in 1705 and was where the signer was born on February 15, 1726. Unfortunately, the original farmhouse was destroyed by fire in 1900, and this replica was constructed on the site in 1941. Now serving as a museum, the house was reconstructed using historical photographs and records, and focuses on Clark's life and the history of Roselle. One historical fact about Roselle was interesting. In 1883, the first electric lighting system that employed overhead wires to ever exist began service in Roselle, and that system was built by Thomas Edison. Finished at the Clark House in Roselle, it was New York City, here we come. Although we were close to Staten Island, Bob and I figured it would be quicker to head north along the Jersey side of the Hudson River than to drive through Manhattan and fight the midday traffic to the Bronx, which was our next scheduled stop. In Elizabeth, New Jersey, we stopped at a Roy Rogers restaurant where I used a payphone to call Reverend Earl Coopercamp to get directions to St. Anne's Church in the Bronx. Coopercamp told me we were less than 30 miles from his church, but it would take over an hour to get there. The Reverend also mentioned his church was located in a fairly bad neighborhood, and he would leave the churchyard gate open so we could drive right onto the property. And that was mainly for the safety of Bob and me and our car. Bob and I began to wonder exactly what was in store for us.
Trade Center over in Manhattan here. Right now we're going through Newark, New Jersey. Over here is the Newark Airport. I don't know if we can catch a view of that. That's the Newark Airport. Stopped at a Roy Rogers in Elizabeth to get directions to St. Anne's Church in the Bronx. That's beautiful. It's not supposed to be in a very good neighborhood. side of it, so it looks like. Picking up speed. He's definitely going faster than us. Yeah, looks like he's now airborne.
Great on this turnpike. They've got trucks and buses over there and cars and
Yeah.
regular vehicles over there.
Okay, right now we're heading for the George Washington Bridge. Right now, we're coming up on East Rutherford, is Giants Stadium, home of the New York Giants football team, and possible burial site of Jimmy Hoffa. try to drop one.
No, you're trying to shortchange me. I'm gonna give you 2 and you're gonna be happy about it. I'm with him.
No pennies, please. 400 pennies.
Yeah, I'm sure people do that.
Okay. This is the George Washington Bridge.
So I gotta take the first exit on the other side?
Nope. This just gets us into Manhattan. We gotta go over Manhattan. We're going over the Harlem River.
Customs has us backed up.
Oh, we might want it. Okay, we're in through traffic. All right.
Well, I can't do anything with you there, asshole. Rhode Island, stupid mother.
We want to stay right on this major throughway. Well, we're now in New York. 12:34 p.m. 3,432 miles into the trip. Real quick view of Yankee Stadium as we're going by in the Bronx. Back him on his head. The house that Ruth built. Take one last quick look here at where we're going before.
38 and then I go left.
We're in the Bronx.
We're not happy.
This is St. Anne's Episcopal Church. We're going to go down into the vault underneath the church. And find the grave of Lewis Morris. As you can see, this is really a neat place. It is once again a priest at the church, Earl Cooper. What's his name? Cooper Camp. Earl Cooper Camp graciously let us in. Now I'm gonna go back out. Okay, now I'm gonna take one last look down the hallway at the crypt of Lewis Morris. I'll go back outside. What's he doing over there?
What?
Lewis Morris was a farmer, a New York delegate to the Continental Congress from 1775 to 1777, and a New York legislator. When warned by his half-brother, Governor Morris, of the consequences of signing the Declaration, Lewis stated, "Damn the consequences, give me the pen." During the British invasion of New York in 1776, the Redcoats ravaged the signer's birthplace and home, Morrisania. At the end of the war in 1783, Morris returned to his home and spent the rest of his life restoring it. All of Lewis Morris's property and nearly all of his wealth was destroyed during the Revolution. Lewis Morris died on January 22, 1798, at the age of 71 at his estate, Morrisania, located in the Bronx. Once Reverend Cooper Camp had showed Bob and I where Morris's crypt was located, he left us alone in the vault beneath the church. The ambiance was somewhat eerie under St. Anne's. When Bob and I talked, our voices echoed, and it felt as though the two of us were not alone. Our memorable and creepy visit to the crypt of Lewis Morris marked the 41st signer's grave of the trip, with only 15 left to find. Although our visit to the vault beneath St. Anne's was memorable, both Bob and I breathed a collective sigh of relief once we were safely back in the Omni and on the road out of the Bronx. Bob asked me to drive into Manhattan, mainly because he feared of someone smashing into my Omni. We took 138th Street out of the Bronx as we headed over the Harlem River and onto Manhattan Island. Traffic was stop and go most of the way. Taxis were everywhere, horns honking at every intersection, and we ran into our fair share of road construction as well. Once we made it to the western side of Manhattan, we headed south, and soon the majestic twin towers of the World Trade Center came into view, and that meant we were close. I pulled the car into the Circle Line parking lot and paid the $5.92 fee for the day. Trinity Church was located about 2 blocks on the other side of the Twin Towers, so the two of us grabbed our gear and began our brisk hike through the streets of New York City. It became hard to walk as my eyes wanted to look up at the towers. On my 2 previous trips to New York, the World Trade Center had always intrigued me, but I never took the time to go to the top. After all, I'd have time at some point in the future, as the World Trade Center would always be there. Our original agenda had Bob and I scheduled to spend the entire day in New York City, but the car repairs set us back over 4 hours, and that meant our trip out to Liberty Island to visit the Statue of Liberty was out the window. But since we were walking right past the World Trade Center, the two of us made the decision to go to the top of the Twin Towers as soon as we finished our visit at the Trinity Churchyard and the grave of Francis Lewis. Once we had finally arrived at the corner of Broadway and Wall Street and stood outside the fenced-in yard of Trinity Church, Bob and I were in total shock. A good portion of the northeast entrance to the church and yard was covered with a tarp and scaffolding. Then we saw the sign that read, "Churchyard closed temporarily." Mongo and I knew it would be nearly impossible to sneak into the churchyard, so we resorted to my speech that I had delivered so many times in the past 12 days. After talking with a handful of workers who told us their hands were tied and there was nothing they could do, the foreman came out to hear our plea. At first he said, "You should have called first and made sure the churchyard was open." Then, after a few more pleas, the foreman relented and allowed us chaperoned access to the Trinity Church burial ground.
No, call Long Island Drive Sharing at 516.
Welcome to the Bronx, everybody.
Care about Long Island, and you.
We're getting out of here as quickly as we can.
All right, let's check out our 3-day forecast.
St. Anne's Church was definitely an experience.
Pretty nice day. So
Notice everybody double parked here on 138th Street.
Very cool below the mid-40s. And
Normal traffic laws don't apply in these parts. You go through red lights, turn left when you're not supposed to.
And 69 here at WKJY. Hi, this is WKJY. Manufacturers show cars featuring the latest in audio and security for your car. There'll be plenty of giveaways too. Also a drawing for over $4,000.
We got our street corner entertainment here, as you can hear. Desi Arnaz Jr.
Special one-day only deals, great for the last-minute Father's Day gift.
I keep seeing Cuban flags.
Moving on is the answer to all your sound and security needs.
There's the police just sitting around chit-chatting with the bottle rocket.
The guy caught it.
Security from Viper, Clifford, Code Alarm, Alpine, Derringer, and more.
I'm gonna hide those
It just needs some oil.
Yeah.
Mike.
If you don't have call waiting, people can get frustrated when they call you and you get a busy
Third.
Annie, honey, it's John,
Okay, go
your
left.
husband. I've been calling from the
Yeah, we go
Rockland station for 2 days.
Hi again, everybody. We're on the FDR highway trying to get to downtown Manhattan. Traffic is really stop and go here. Taxi almost cut somebody off. It's typical. Let's see, right? 2 lanes closed.
Can't close right 2 lanes because that's all we have.
Yeah.
Right. We need help all around.
Great lights.
The New York taxi drivers drive like maniacs, as we've all come to expect.
Here's the East 71st Street.
Might be the Brooklyn Bridge right there. Beep beep.
So bring this lane here for right now.
Yeah, we've got a little ways to go. Let's see. So right here.
Yeah, I remember. Look at all the friggin' cars.
New York is where I'd rather stay away from. I get allergic smelling exhaust fumes. Ooh. If we can get out of here without a fender bender, it'll be great.
Let's assume I'm still on Houston Street. That's 2 lanes it said, so.
Yeah, it should be. It shows that it's a two-way street.
Houston, okay.
And then just stay on this until it ends. And that's the way we drive in New York City. Double parking everywhere. It's legal here. Even if it isn't, we don't care. You can go 10 minutes overtime on your parking meter in Princeton and they nail your butt. But here, you can triple park, block up major roads.
Run red lights.
Run red lights 10 seconds after they turn red.
Make a left turn from the right lane.
Okay, so what street do we have here?
This is Avenue A.
Avenue A. Okay, Alan. I guess our map leaves out a lot. So let's
Bowery Street.
okay, the next one should be Lafayette.
Yellow. I could probably still make this light.
You could make it even right now. You could still make it.
Girl Scouts. Oh shit, what are we
No, the
doing?
Girl Scouts is Rahway.
Uh-oh, what am I coming up to now?
There we go. There's some good horn honking. You gotta like that. You gotta like that.
This is Broadway coming up.
Okay, and then we should hit Broadway again. It looks like we've got 2 Broadways on here.
My friend, I'll let you take my picture and everything. Let me do a good job to you. They look nice. If I take care and you take a video, yeah, you want it?
I don't know what the hell he was saying.
I don't even look to my side anymore. I just drive straight forward. This is great. Green Street.
Okay, green.
Worcester.
Did you say Worcester?
Yeah, this is LaGuardia.
Okay. Once we pass the Avenue of the Americas, we should be pretty damn close. Hudson and Greenwich are the last 2 streets on here before we turn left on West.
Okay. Houston Street, west side, keep left. I'm going west, yeah.
Yeah, West Houston, so we keep that.
I'm kind of left. I'm more left than I am right.
And this is the way traffic moves along in New York City. Gotta love it.
Westgate, Brooklyn, Battery, Tunnel, Allen Tunnel, it's an only.
So we want Battery, right?
There's the Statue of Liberty. There. Should I park in here?
If you want. I think we're, I don't really know the area.
Yeah, it's short.
Yeah, get right, because that one,
There's the Circle Line ferries right here.
all day 592. There should be another, there's an entrance right there.
Okay. World Trade Center straight ahead.
Jeez, did they get some rain or what? As I was walking by on the sidewalk, is that a monument over there for the Declaration, signers of the Declaration or something?
The very large monument?
Yeah.
Dedicated to patriots who were in prison for giving their lives in New York City during the Revolutionary War. The British Army occupied the projects.
We had one major stumbling block. Carol, his ancestor, lives on the grounds of Oregon Manor, and that's where the gravesite is. And he was extremely hesitant. He was just insistent, no, you can't do it. And Tom was telling me, no way. And he said, well, that's terrible. And finally, after about 10 minutes, he said, I'll tell you what, call my groundskeeper and send it up to him. So we've been really fortunate that everybody's been really good about it.
So this is, Carol's the only one who's actually buried on land that's still owned by the...
No, there are several others that are owned by the family, but most of the ancestors have been extremely great about it. And people have better help us. I think we were filling our drawers on it. That's very sneakily done, I might add.
Francis Lewis was a merchant, a New York delegate to the Continental Congress from 1775 to 1779, and a signer of the Articles of Confederation. Due to Tory dominance in New York, Lewis was instructed to not vote for independence on July 1st and 2nd. He did sign the Declaration, however, on August 2nd, 1776. During the British invasion of New York City, Lewis's home was destroyed and his wife Elizabeth taken prisoner. Although she was released in exchange for the wives of British officials, Elizabeth's health declined due to the imprisonment, and she died in 1779. Francis Lewis died on December 31st, 1802 in New York City at the age of 90. Although this memorial in the burial ground at Trinity Church stated he died in 1803. Following his death, Lewis was buried in an unmarked grave in the Trinity Church Cemetery. This memorial was erected in honor of the signer and was located virtually in the shadow of the World Trade Center, which is only 2 blocks away. Although the construction foreman was reluctant at first to grant us access to the grounds, he took a liking to the two of us and he was quite interested in a few stories Bob told him about our trip. Near the end of our time at Trinity Church, the cloud cover lifted and the sun came out. Bob and I smiled because we knew that would help enhance our experience at the top of the World Trade Center. Our visit to the gravesite of Francis Lewis, which nearly didn't happen, marked the 42nd signer's grave of the trip, with only 14 left to find. First, we had new heights to find, and those were only a short walk away. As the two of us walked out of the Trinity churchyard, Bob and I looked at each other and just shook our heads in amazement. Once again, it seemed obvious we had just experienced divine intervention from our spirits of independence. It was nearly 2:30 p.m. when we walked into the lobby of the South Tower of the World Trade Center. Bob and I went up the escalator to the mezzanine level, bought our ticket to the observation deck, and headed for security, which was located near the elevator. The female security guard near the elevator instructed me to open my bag, which contained the video camera. She said she had to check for a parachute. I said to the lady, "I'll tell you one thing, I'm the last person on this planet who would jump off the top of this building with a parachute." Once past security, the elevator whisked us up to the 107th floor in 58 seconds. Bob and I were anxious to see the view.
Okay, at the top of the World Trade Center. There you go, sir. Island.
The American is the carrier. Thank you very much.
I didn't even have to give me him in my head. I'll throw it over. Fine here, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm gone. I'm on there. See, look, I'm way out too. I'm right here. Alex, look. Alex. Right here. Not going. I don't want to go. one with the red. Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, I see. Is that the
Пойдем глянем, сколько пленки, может идешь, может.
The America, USS America, right there.
No, they have. See.
When Bob and I took the escalator up to the rooftop promenade above the 110th floor, I was thankful I wore a sweatshirt as it was fairly windy while we walked around on top of the South Tower. There were quite a few people up there, and Mongo and I just scurried about as we snapped our photos. While the view of New York City was spectacular from 1,362 feet in the air, the most surprising aspect of our visit was the radio wave interference on the video camera, especially when I faced the North Tower. The top of the World Trade Center seemed very peaceful and made us forget the hectic traffic we had just fought for over an hour. During my 2 previous visits to the Big Apple, I had never taken the time to visit the World Trade Center, and each time I said, "They'll still be here the next time I'm in New York City, I'll do it then." As I sat in front of my TV set on September 11th, 2001, I was very thankful I didn't wait until next time on June 6, 1991. Carpe diem. When our breathtaking experience at the Twin Towers was over, Bob and I hurriedly made our way back to the Omni in an effort to beat the rush hour traffic out of New York City. Unfortunately, as we headed north on Water Street, we got bogged down in the worst traffic jam the 2 of us had ever experienced.
We're driving rush hour traffic out of New York City, and believe it or not, there's a hot dog stand in the middle of the damn road. And Tom's going to take advantage and pick up 3 or 4 for me.
Only kind of $1, so more than $1. Cops with them.
I want to. Once again, we have another vendor in the middle of the road. Traffic is moving all of 1 micron per hour. He's going, uh-oh, he sees me. Well, here's the current traffic situation, and look, just because I'm filming it, we're actually going to move a few inches.
609.
It's taken us about 20 minutes to move across 1 intersection. And we're loving it. I don't know how these cars can be all packed into this small of an area without actually scraping each other.
Definitely is playing havoc on our gas mileage.
Yeah, when do you get the worst gas mileage? At what speed? 0 miles per hour, which is what we've been going for the last 40 minutes. And there's a common sign on this trip.
At 6:50 p.m. on this Thursday, June the 6th. And we're 3,492 miles into the trip. Perfect afternoon after we fought the traffic in New York City, and now we're heading for New Haven, Connecticut.
It had taken over 2.5 hours to make the 40-mile journey to the Connecticut border. Once into the Constitution State, we began our search for a campground that was in close proximity to New Haven, our first destination the following morning. By the time we got to New Haven, some 45 minutes after crossing the border, we still hadn't found a place to stay, but we did find a Burger King, which is where we ate dinner. After Bob and I devoured several Whoppers, we continued on I-95 past New Haven until we finally saw a sign for our campground near Clinton, Connecticut, which is where we decided to spend the night. Although it was completely dark when we arrived at our campsite, we were able to set up our tent in about 10 minutes by flashlight. By that time, we were pros and had tent assembly down to a science. New York City had totally exhausted the two of us, and it didn't take long to get to sleep. Bob and I figured the following day would be easier than most, plus Mongo was excited to see his friend, Dave Hubner, whom we had planned on staying with in Rhode Island the following night. As for me, I couldn't get the thoughts of jumping off the top of the World Trade Center with a parachute out of my mind. Well, that's it for day 12 of our trip. We only have 5 more days left. Did you enjoy our hectic drive in New York City? What about the view from the top of the Twin Towers? It's still hard for me to believe that a group of radical Islamic terrorists were able to destroy those towers just 10 years after our visit and change our way of life forever. We must never forget 9/11. On our next show, Bob and I cruise around Connecticut where we visit the grave sites of 4 more signers. While it won't be as chaotic as New York City, it'll still be a show you won't want to miss. Please do us a favor and subscribe to this channel and hit the like button below. And feel free to leave a comment and share your memories about 9/11. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Spirits of Independence. So long.